It's a draft time. We are drafting. Do-do-do, do-do-do. The best sports shows ever in honor of Around the Horn going off the air. Around the Horn, a tremendous show that has been on ESPN for 20 plus years at this point. It was a special show. It gave a voice to so many different capital J journalists in the sports space who got to come on. Tony Reale is a fantastic host who led that charge for years and years and years. And if I was going and turning on ESPN in the afternoon, I don't stop for every show. I haven't stopped for every show for a long time. I would still check in on Around the Horn, and I would watch clips from Around the Horn. And even just giving space to women to have their opinions. Like Mina Kimes takes off on Around the Horn. Sarah Spain takes off on Around the Horn. Jamel Hill takes off on Around the Horn. And then Jamel Hill ends up having, like, doing this exercise. I forgot how much I loved His and Hers. I forgot how much I loved Numbers Never Lie for a period of time. There's so many fun ESPN shows through the eons, but Around the Horn was always one of my favorites. So in honor of them going off the air, it is a bummer that Around the Horn will be no more. They did 4,900 episodes over 23 years since its debut in November 2002. So 23 years since 2002. It goes off the air. And that makes me sad. But we're going to draft sports shows.
Let's get the duck race going. Oh, my gosh. The only thing worse than your trench coat is that duck. The red duck, not the good duck, which is gonna come from behind and win, like always does. Never count that duck out. Never count that one out, man. Never,
I really wanted the number one pick.
He never loses against women. All right, I don't know why you wanted the number one pick, but I'm assuming it's because SportsCenter is sitting there, and I got to take SportsCenter. Like that's why all this exists. That's why. That's SportsCenter, man. That's the best of them. Used to wake up. You talk about all the people who've been on PTI. Not PTI, oops. Pretend I didn't say PTI. I'm tipping my hand a little bit.
I'm not taking it.
Not all the people that's been on Around the Horn. Think about all the greats that we've gotten from Dan Patrick, Stuart Scott, Rich Eisen. You got, why am I blanking? On
Kenny Mayne.
That
was one of my favorites. Linda Cohn, Chris Myers, Olbermann, Dan Patrick.
Said Dan Patrick.
Charlie Steiner and Robin Roberts.
Sage Steele. Don't make that face. Greats in the industry. I was thinking about Robin. That's who I was blanking on.
Like my two biggest inspirations in this industry are Robin Roberts and Stuart Scott.
Yeah.
Like I'm not doing Grizzlies highlights if I'm not listening to Booyah and Cooler Than the Other Side of the Pillow. Like that made highlights cool. That made highlights something I wanted to chase for my entire life. Like trying to figure out a niche in the industry. What I saw Stuart Scott do opened up everything for me in wanting to venture into sports media. To be yourself, to not be this like standard serious anchorman type who treat sports very seriously. Sports are fun. Like my list will be a testament to sports are fun, but SportsCenter, especially the OG SportsCenter.
That's what the good shows are. Like they're fun.
Yes.
Some of
a blend, fun, informative.
They absolutely want to blend the two. Some of them skewer more towards the informative side. Some of them skewer way to the fun side. I think SportsCenter balanced one of those that was straight down the middle. Yeah. Just like, hey, here's this highlight, here's the fun. The not top 10 was great when they came out with that. I loved that. The top 10, you definitely wanted to sit down there and see the top 10. That used to drive my mom crazy because my dad would watch it and it would be the same thing that he had just watched 2 hours ago. So she's frustrated. Why are you still watching it? Then I get of age and now I'm watching it and it's the same thing that I watched 2 hours ago. She was a woman in a house full of men who was just frustrated with SportsCenter, but we loved it. It's great.
You'd watch it before school. You'd watch it before bed.
Watch it before bed.
I miss having that kind of like regulated sports programming in my life. Okay, with my number one pick, I will take. This is tough. This is really tough. I'll take College Game Day.
Oh, no! No! Which College Game Day? The basketball one, right?
No, the football.
Oh, you suck.
I will take ESPN College Game Day, Kirk Herbstreit, Desmond Howard, Lee Corso, Reese Davis, everyone and everything that has contributed to that show along the way. Long live the Bear. Long live Old Crimson. The Old Crimson flying every Saturday morning represents my favorite time of the week. They are coming to your city, and it's a beautiful thing. I love College Game Day. It sets the tone perfectly. Others have tried to emulate that pre-game, pre-party vibe that they do so well. Their celebrity guest picker is a great way to always capitalize on the end, give your picks, have someone associated with the school, the stories they tell, the feature reporting that has happened from Maria Taylor to Sam Ponder to Jen. I can't think of her last name off the top of my head, but they've done great. God, my brain is not working this morning.
Yeah, we'll
makes
go
you,
in the club.
the guy who always makes you cry, who then went over to Fox.
Rinaldi?
Tom Rinaldi would always make me cry on a Saturday morning. I miss that being a part of it. But they've managed to keep it together. Even as changes have happened, it is still a relevant show. Obviously, Pat McAfee has injected a new energy, a new audience into the mix, having Nick Saban. They just keep reinventing themselves. And that's the structure of a good show that remains relevant, is you have to reinvent yourself through the times. You have to add new pieces when other pieces fall back. And unpopular opinion, I love that Lee Corso is still on it. I love that he still gets to put a mascot head on. I love the relationship between him and Herbstreit. And it just feels like a show that I've grown up with through my college football love, and it has helped make my love of college football greater. Some shows detract from the sport. College Game Day builds the lore so appropriately that you feel ready and situated to watch an all-day affair of college football. You know the storylines, you know who's expected to win, you're prepared if an upset pops off because you know how big it would be because of that show.
If College Game Day wanted to, they could go to the worst game every week and uplift that fan base, or those fan bases, those conferences, and that game. That's how big College Game Day is in the storytelling component of sports. Like you said, they do a great job of it. Aaron Andrews, another one who does a great job of it. Lee Corso, at his prime, was one of the best personalities that sports had. And the way that he was able to play off of Herbstreit was tremendous. And now you look at it the way Herbie can play off of Dez, can play off of Coach Saban, can play off of Pat McAfee. All of that is so impactful, so great, and something that, like you said, it adds to the sport in a way that I can't imagine college football existing without Game Day. And I'm heartless, I'm cold, I don't want to see the features anymore. But boy, when I sit down to watch them, the Michie feature, and he was a Michigan player, I think, or wanted to come to Michigan. I can't remember the exact story. It's been a while since I watched it because it had me a blubbering buffoon for 30 minutes, where he involved in the Michigan program and ends up bone cancer, recently passed away. The way they told that story gets me every time. The first time I found out that I will wave to the Children's Hospital
was on Game Day
and was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Turn it off before too late. I'm already crying. The Florida State, I'm blanking on the Florida State football player who recently, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I can't remember, time is but a construct, who went to a school to eat lunch with the kids, saw one kid sitting by himself, was like, hey, I'm going to go sit with him. And the way that story sort of took off and ballooned on Game Day, great. They do great analytics. They're great at having fun, and they're great at giving you the human component of these college football teams, players, personnel, universities. So good. I hate that you took it, but it makes sense. I'm going to go PTI. Pardon the interruption. Mike Wilbon, Tony Kornheiser. Informative, and they play off of one another tremendously. When I think about a show that I would like to do someday, it would be that, where we're sitting there and just quick 30 minutes, let's knock out these topics. They don't need more than 30 minutes because they can be so concise and convey everything that they need about a topic in a 2.5, 3 minute span, while also being funny, and jabbing one another from time to time. It's great. This was my introduction to podcasts, right? I didn't have cable. And so I would have to listen to the PTI podcast, and then that spun off to me listening to the Kornheiser podcast as well. And it's like, oh, I kind of like this sports podcasting thing. And then one podcast leads to another. So yeah, give me PTI.
Okay. With my second pick, I will take Inside the NBA. Nobody does it like Chuck, Shaq, Kenny, and Ernie. You cannot buy chemistry, and they have bounds of it. It is so fun to watch Inside the NBA. People can think what they want about the unserious nature of some of those conversations, but the way that they have remained an engaging, funny, and consistent program, it will be sad. There is a reason they gave a whole damn funeral for it at All-Star Weekend, which I still question that decision because the show is technically moving just to a new network, even though they won't have Chuck to be a part of it. But it just shows how much that show means to the NBA community. And again, I can't imagine the NBA without Inside the NBA. Am I always learning something new there? No. That's a toss-up. But am I always entertained? Yes. I laugh more regularly watching that show than any other sports show.
All right, I'll take the Sports Reporters.
Okay.
That was one of my Sunday shows as a kid. Could sit down with Dick Schaap or John Saunders in the later iterations on Sunday mornings and be surrounded by 3 or 4 really great, intelligent columnists from around the nation. So I'm sitting in Clarksville, Tennessee. I'm sitting in Nashville, Tennessee. I don't know what Denver is thinking. I don't know what Boston is going on, what's going on up there in their sports and what they're thinking about these national stories. I don't know what Detroit, LA, et cetera, on Dallas, et cetera, on down the line. I got introduced to some really, really great sports writers and reporters, columnists on that show, and the way they conversed about those topics was in a very intelligent way, in a way that a kid like me, 10, 11, 12-year-old CJ, all the way on to teenage CJ, could digest it, could understand it, and then could formulate my opinions on the topic as well. I think that Dick Schaap is great. I love me some John Saunders as well. Give me Sports Reporters.
This is where it gets controversial.
Oh, here we
You
go.
might veto the pick. And I'm going to leave it open. If you veto the pick, you veto the pick. And it's okay. I know it's Women's History Month, and technically, should you veto a women's pick in Women's History Month?
On a women's show during Women's History Month?
You can. I'm giving you permission.
I respect you too much as one of my she-ros. What you're doing is real she-roic.
It's also being very woman by being like, if you don't like it, it's okay. You can veto it. You don't have to do it. Red Zone with Scott Hansen? Question mark?
I am unfamiliar with Red Zone.
What did he say?
I don't know. It's live. He says it's live sports.
But it's the programming, or it's 7 hours of commercial-free football, effortlessly guided by Scott Hansen. It's the Scott Hansen piece that I am putting on my list.
Jacob, let's put it up there. They're going to clip this. I'll just let all the men yell at you in the chat, in the comment section.
Red Zone with Scott Hansen.
Women's History Month.
I love being yelled at by men in the comments. It's one of my favorite activities in this world. I think it counts. And no offense to Andrew Siciliano on DirecTV, but my version is Red Zone with Scott Hansen. It has now even had the spin-off of what they did with the Gold Zone. So you talk about a standard setter. There are levels to how we consume sports outside of the games themselves. And Red Zone took all-day football and condensed it to the most exciting moment. So technically, you could call Red Zone a highlight show. It is a constant highlight show.
A live highlight show?
It is a live highlight show.
Okay.
And the difficulty to host a show like that is high level. And Scott Hansen does a tremendous job. 7 hours of commercial-free football is a flawless saying that everybody joins in on. Anyone who is a Red Zone fanatic. There are people who tweet about Red Zone. There's communication between the host and the fans of Red Zone. I think it counts because what I think makes the best sports, and I guess this is a sports talk show, so that makes it a little, because it's not a talk show, but it is a different way to view sports than just watching a live game. You can get mad at me. I don't care.
Yes, you do.
I love Red Zone enough that I don't care about the comments. Come for me in the comments. Kill me in the comments. Make me cry.
Don't say that. We just had a conversation about you and death, man. goodness. Number 4 for me, where am I at? I'm getting everybody I want to get. I'll go around the horn.
Go for it.
It's fun and informative. The point system is always funny to me. The fact that it's just whatever reality wants it to be is great to me. And it around the horn introduced me to my favorite sports personalities in this industry, be it Dan Le Batard, Bomani Jones, Michael Smith, Jamel Hill, Woody Page. I loved Woody Page. Loved me some Woody Page. Like all of that brought up Sarah Spain, Mina Kimes as well, J.A. Adonde, just people
Judy
who
McMillan.
Just people who I love to this day. Who, if I see them on the TV or I see they've got a podcast, I stop what I'm doing to give it a listen, a follow, and see if I like it or not. And I always end up liking it. Around the horn. Give
It's a
it
good
to me.
pick, considering it is what drove us to do this draft in the first place. And I think its final episode is May 23rd. So you still have a little bit of time left to enjoy Around the Horn. You don't have time left to enjoy one of my favorite sports shows of all time. And again, a show that without its existence, I am not quite sure what I'm doing with my life because it directly led me down this dumb little path of comedy and sports and what are we doing every day and putting on a trench coat. Give me Sportsnation, specifically the original cast of Colin Cowherd and Michelle Beadle. There was no more fun show on ESPN for a time period than Sportsnation, and getting to intern for Sportsnation was a dream come true.
Oh, I interned for Sportsnation. I'm cool.
I got to sit at the Sportsnation desk. It was a dream come true. I ran the prompter. I literally, my job was running the prompter, but also I got to pick cheers and jeers. And
You got to pick some cheers and jeers?
Yes!
Let's
I got to pick cheers and
go!
jeers. I got to take one of
Why
my
are you
jobs was
even here
watching
right now? Why didn't you just stay there?
Great question. They got me a nice cake on my lunch. They were so nice.
Get
there.
out of here. What was the cake flavor?
I think it was a mix. It was marble.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and it was USC colors.
Nice.
I remember, and they gave me a bag of gummy bears because my lunch every day was popcorn and gummy bears because I'm a child in a trench coat. But how that separated the serious sports shows to, oh my God, this is all just for fun. There is so much stupidity involved in sports, and there is a way to effortlessly entertain people by just taking clips from moments that happen in sports, and they are inherently funny. And how are we going to package that and make people laugh while also keeping them up? Like, you would watch and you'd know the standings in various sports, you'd know the biggest storylines. My actual biggest job as an intern at Sportsnation was finding every piece of footage of Tim Tebow running shirtless in the rain. And then in slow motion. Just doing, that was a thing for a long period of time. And they were so fun. Beadle was incredible. She is one of my biggest inspos of getting in the industry. And her and Colin Cowherd's chemistry was so fun off the bat. Obviously, other iterations exist. I did not get to intern for Michelle Beadle and Colin Cowherd. But the show continued onward. I missed that show. I know they I think they even tried to do a Snapchat version of it at some point.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
But I miss Sportsnation. And when we were coming up with the idea, when Megan Triplett and I were coming up with the idea of this show, in the back of my head, I'm like, how do we get Sportsnation-ish with this? So you're welcome. That's why we're stuck in some of this. I don't know. We got rid of Double Tap a long time ago.
Yeah, we just stopped doing that.
There was no official conversation. It was just.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. We were like, we don't need it. We're out. We'll just pick the Double Tap stuff in.
I loved that show. I missed that show.
It's a good show. Wow. Grabbing a lot of stuff from one network. But for most of my life,
that was the worldwide leader.
That's how you become the worldwide leader. And I'm in a tough spot. I know I'm going serious here. Less fun, more on the serious side, because there are some great ones out there. I'll do it. It'll be straight ESPN. I hate that I'm not going to take real sports. I thought that maybe you take something and that would allow me to take real, or force me to take real sports with Brian Gumbel on HBO, because it's a tremendous show. But I'm going to go with Bob Lee and Outside the Lines. That is such a good, informative, serious show. Hey, here's this serious thing. It's serious. And we're going to sit down and tell you everything we need to know in this allotted time. Like we are going to do that. The way they covered the Larry Nassar stuff was huge. That was my go-to spot to learn the latest as it pertained to that trial. Hurricane Katrina, some of the stuff that they did with their coverage of Hurricane Katrina, and on the Saints playing in the Superdome for the first time, I thought that was great as well. They delved deep into the Pat Tillman stuff, and like, okay, here's what really happened to Pat Tillman. That was huge. Those are the ones that stood out to me. But there's been so many others, and the one that made its way from there, one of the many, made its way from there outside the lines to just random conversations I would have with people from a pop culture standpoint. I do believe they did. I'm blanking on the autistic kid's name, but they did the one about the high school manager who was autistic, and they were like, okay, it's senior night, we're gonna stick him in the game, and my man just gets hot from three and drains all of these threes. And so there's a Boondocks episode about that, and every time every time I hop on social media, there's some sort of a clip like that circulating where, oh, here's our equipment manager who has this disability, who's out there, and look at how much fun they're having. Look how cool it is to see that story sticks with me to this day. Another one of those tearjerker type moments to see that kid go out there and hit all of the threes that he was hitting in that one game, to see him running up and down the court so happy, and see the teammates and the fans around him celebrating with him as well. Outside the Lines has done some great in-depth journalism on various sports stories, so I'll take that with my last pick.
It's a good pick. I was going to do E60, but I'm not going to do two Bob Lees. I could go Goofy, and I could do Highly Questionable, which is my other favorite ESPN program, and then it leads to Dan Le Batard is one of my favorite people.
As much as I like Dan Le Batard, didn't care for Highly Questionable that much.
I just like him. That's why I'm not going to take it. But that started my gateway into being as obsessed with Dan Le Batard as I can. I still listen to the Dan Le Batard show.
I do also, because it's a good show. Man, also introduced Pablo Torres. That's how I learned about him. Mina Kimes, also from Dan Le Batard and around the horn. Bomani Jones will hop on there and they would goof around from time to time. It's a good show. Sarah Spain. Yeah, it's a good.
I will take Real Sports. I'll take Real Sports with Brian Gumbel. One of the best news programs in regards to sport and diving into stories that I never would have even thought to investigate. We did not take 30 for 30. I did not put 30 for 30 in this category. For me, 30 for 30 is in the documentary category. It is not in this sports space. I guess because it's highly produced. Maybe that's the difference.
Which one?
30 for 30.
Okay.
That, like a 30-minute documentary, like a E60, where it's multiple stories, and like a Real Sports, where you can have multiple stories in one episode, but it's not a documentary. That's different.
Those feel like Sports 60 Minutes. What you're talking about is an actual documentary. Yes. That's different. Yes. One is a movie, one is a TV show. Those are different.
One is a news program, and one is a movie. Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to put it. But Brian Gumbel just brought such a gravitas to the sports world and touched a lot of subjects that other people would not get into. Obviously, it wasn't just an American show, it was worldwide. And I think that's so important from a broadening your horizons of the sports community, not just immediately around you, but how this is impacting the entire world and how good, bad, ugly, everything in between. But it was a great show, and I miss it. That's one that I miss. Like, when you think about great things from HBO that we have lost, that is up there. And we didn't have anything to replace it with.
And there's a hole, there's a void in both
outside the lines,
Real Sports, and sports reporters. So much of the discourse around sports right now is, hey, let's just stick 2 or 3 people on set and let them argue about things that don't really matter.
Yeah.
Or let's stick a bunch of people on set and let's just be goofy and have fun. We are void of those just straight, hey, here's the education of what's going on, so you can be as informed as possible, and that has a lot to do with TV ratings and numbers and things like that. But yeah, I wouldn't mind if something like either one of those, Real Sports, Outside the Lines, or Sports Reporters came back. What was on
my short list?
Yes.
On my short list was SVP and Russillo. If we were talking about specific people, the Dan Patrick Show was one of my favorites going through it. Good Morning Football.
Okay.
I hate that Good Morning Football changed its time slot. That used to be my morning show to just have on in the background while getting ready for this show. Yeah. And now it is not. His and Hers, PTI, which you took. NFL Football Night in America. I do like Chris Berman's Fastest Minute still. I like everything that comes. It's a nice recap moving into a Sunday night game. And there's like a importance that feels that NBC still holds on that space. So I appreciate those. And yeah, that's my list. What else was on yours?
Cold pizza.
Oh, I forgot about cold pizza.
Yeah, we like this cold pizza thing is kind of weird.
Yes.
But it was good. And from that we end up doing the Woody Skip. And then from that is like, oh, we got something with Skip here. Let's just have him start arguing. You partner him with Stephen A. Smith, and now you've got First Take. Mike and Mike was that show for me as a kid in the morning. My sister hates Mike and Mike to this day because she had to watch it when she was getting to school early in the cafeteria. They'd have TV on and be on Mike and Mike. But I loved it. Changed the way we view radio hosts and the way we think radio could be done and should be done nationally. Rome is Burning. Jim Rome. Jim Rome was one of those dudes for me, and you took Sportsnation, but Sportsnation was up.
I also like Bob Costas at the Olympics, but I didn't know how to categorize that.
The Jessica Benson Show with CJ Hart, live every weekday at 8 a.m.